But before we move into the next segment, don't forget, again, to check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/MostOutPodcast. I've been having some conversations with y'all on Twitter, so don't forget to drop over, hit us with a follow, and talk to us. We love talking to you guys. I have nothing to do with most of my days, so love talking NBA with you guys, so definitely slide into our DMs. We appreciate the conversation that you guys always bring. But let's jump into the Los Angeles Clippers. I want to give a shout out to Colin McSherry, who said, hey, talk about the Clippers. We also have one about talk about the Hornets, so we'll bring that up in future days. But we've been wanting to talk about the Clippers because of the possibility of AD wanting to go there, because of Kawhi possibly being linked there, and also with their rebuild. They traded away Boban Marjanovic. They traded away Tobias Harris.
Bobby and Toby.
Yeah, Bobby and Toby. They traded away those two. Arguably their best player in Tobias Harris. People were like, oh, now it's time for a tank. Now it's time for a rebuild. And they're still in the playoffs at 7th. So right now it's really, is it a rebuild? How is the rebuild going? And what should be the next steps for this rebuild? Before we get into that question, though, I do want to throw out, I think this is going to be a extremely tough year for Coach of the Year, because you look out in the East, you have good old Coach Bud for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Absolutely.
You have Nick Nurse, who deserves credit. You have Mike Malone of the Denver Nuggets, especially if they win the #1 seed.
Michael Malone
of the Denver Nuggets, especially if they win the #1 seed. You got to look at Dave Yeager of the Sacramento Kings for what he's done, and Doc Rivers, because Doc Rivers is winning. He's in the playoffs with pretty much no star on that team at all.
Couldn't you put Steve Clifford in the conversation too?
Yeah. I mean,
it's the Magic.
It's the Magic, but also it's not like
they're in the playoffs.
If they were like,
well, right now they're a half game out.
I think Kenny Atkinson deserves more credit for the Nets than Steve Clifford does with the Magic. Is that fair?
The Nets have an all-star.
Yes, so did the Magic.
Yeah,
Nikola Vucevic.
But it's Vucevic.
But he's still an all-star.
Yeah.
So
I'll go evensies.
What would you say? Who's the front runner in your mind for Coach of the Year?
Well,
because I think Doc Rivers.
It's easy for me. A team that should have been tanking is now winning games. Jim Boylan, Coach of the Year. Right?
Oh God!
Right? That's an obvious joke. I would give it to Bud. With the East, where it is, it's either you give it to Budenholzer for what he's done with the Bucks, or you give it to Michael Malone. You know what? I'm going to change my answer. I'll give it to Michael Malone for what he's done with the Nuggets, because they were not a playoff team. They were on the verge of a win and you're in, and they lost, and now they're the 2nd seed. Fucking, I'm going to give it to Malone.
Right.
I think Bud, I know this isn't the segment, but it's just he literally took a team last year that was good, but had so many problems, to now being the best team in
one
the
of the
East.
best defensive metrics teams, I believe.
But also, then if Dave Yeager gets them to the playoffs, I think the Kings, who went from garbage town to the playoffs, is
just saying the playoffs is a difference than what Bud means to that team in Milwaukee is night and day to what Jason Kidd did to them.
Let us know what you think down in the comments below. Who's the front runner? Give us a power ranking, top 5 power ranking for Coach of the Year. But anyways, let's jump into the Clippers. Right now they sit at 35-29, 9 games back of the Golden State Warriors, 3 games ahead of the Sacramento Kings, who are in 9th place, half a game in front of the Spurs for the 8th seed. They are 17-12 at home, 18-17 away. They are on a 1-game win streak and 6-4 in their last 10. So let's start off with the Clippers right now. Do you think that they were rebuilding with that Tobias Harris move? What was the idea behind that Toby move, and has it panned out for what their goal was when they traded away Tobias Harris?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Ricky, go first.
Well, the thing that I think about is the reason why they made that deal was because, in my mind, it was like, okay, we are moving on into the future. We are moving on into free agents. If we keep Toby around, we then have to keep the question of, do we give him a deal or not? Do we re-sign him? Do we just let him walk? They traded him. They tried to get something for him rather than just letting him walk at the end. I think the second part of your question, the will it pay off? We're not going to get that answer until after free agency, until we see what big fish, if any, will the Clippers be able to land.
I mean, I think they so far are happy with the trade. They got Landry Shamet, who is low-key just an absolute stud from the outside. Incredible shooter. His time under J.J. Redick, totally Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Who they have locked down on a rookie deal until, 2022?
He's a rookie.
Yeah.
He's a rook. But I don't think we're going to find out for a while either, because they got 2 first-round picks out of this. Obviously, the protected one from the Sixers, cool, 2020, that's cool. But the 2021 Heat pick, where That one's got the intrigue. That one's unprotected. And who knows what the Heat will be doing in 2021. So I think that not only contractually are they in great shape, but also from a future like prospect potential, like they just have wealth.
Well, what do you think it should be their plan? Because Ricky obviously brought up free agency. You brought up their wealth in youth. Obviously, they have a great, just kind of, young core. They drafted Jerome Robinson, who hasn't been that great this year.
But you got Shea?
He still was top 15. But I was going to bring up the guys, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who's been really great for them, taken 11th. Last year in the draft. They have Ivica Zubac, who they got from the Lakers, and they have Landry Shamet. So, I mean, those three are extremely young. Those guys have all promise. I don't know which ones will be stars, but they all seem like they can be, good rotation pieces to starters at their top end. Also, I don't think I'm missing anybody, but those are pretty much the big four. You might want to throw Thornwell because Dave loves him, but he hasn't been great. But
who? Sorry?
Thornwell.
Oh,
he's
mad.
And then obviously they have the
Dave's like he's no longer in the Gamecocks making a historic run.
And then obviously they have the future wealth as well. So do you think they're going to go towards a youth movement, or do you think it's going to be an attack in free agency and then use that wealth of picks and that youth to then bring in stars through trades?
I've got a plan, and Dave, I'm going to throw this towards you. You tell me what this plan is. Number one, you got to get Kawhi Leonard.
I'll go Jerry West mode on this.
Well, because here's what you got. You've got you're plan this offseason, dual max. You've opened it up for the dual max. Potentially, you can get a third max type player. I'll get to that in a little bit. Number one target is getting Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers. You need to do that in my mind. Number two, you could go a few different directions. You can either target like a Kyrie or a Kemba, try to get a point guard on that max deal. But like you said, they got Shea. They have Landry Shamet. They don't have to go point guard. So they could go maybe like, do we want to try to bring Clay away from the Warriors? Do we want to go after a Jimmy Butler, depending how he's feeling after what happens with the 76ers in the playoffs? That second tier is whatever you feel. Because of what they have, wouldn't be mad if they went after like a Jimmy Butler, got like maybe Kawhi and Jimmy to come in, but I wouldn't be mad if it's like Kawhi and Kemba or Kawhi and Kyrie, even with the point guards that they have, because like we've said, they are young. The third option, which brings in those picks, instead of using them, how about taking Danilo, who is up after next year, and a Lou Will, who, yes, he's been good for this team, but the guy we're getting would be better for us, could go after an Anthony Davis with those picks, and could virtually bring in Kawhi, a second max of the point guard, shooting guard, whichever you want, and an Anthony Davis to this team.
For a top 5 player, you are going to trade Lou Williams and Danilo Gallinari.
And a boatload of picks.
I don't see that working because I don't think 4 picks is going to do it. I think you need to give them somebody young. And
I don't know.
So here
you could throw in
let's throw out the picks they have. They don't have their pick right now in 2019. It's right now going to the Celtics via the Grizzlies. They have, I think, 3 second-round picks. They have 2 first-round picks in 2020. They have 76ers pick. It may or may not transfer. It's top 14 protected. It should transfer. And then they have their own pick in 2020. And then they have the unprotected Heat in 2021. And they have their own in 2021. And then they have their next picks until 2026 after that. So they have 4 first rounders in 2020 and 2021. I don't think all 4 of those first are going to get Anthony Davis.
But let's say
really, because the deal that we heard for Anthony Davis is now a lie. So I'm interested to know what the true value is.
I'm going to be interested in true value, but also if the Lakers were giving up Lonzo
Ball, that was the point. It came out that
when did it come out as a lie? Who reported
Jackie
that?
Mack and God, what's his name? I don't remember.
I didn't
the other
see
guy's
that
name.
from Woj or anybody.
Yeah, they're talking about how it's very likely that it was pushed out publicly by the Pelicans, and that wasn't actually the offer that was on the table. Yes, the Lakers had made offers, but it wasn't that offer.
What was
it did
the
not
offer,
include. They weren't being specific. They just said it didn't include all 4.
So I got it for you. Yeah. So on the jump, Jackie Mack said, "My sources have told me in the last 48 hours that what we heard the Lakers offered may not be true. So I think there's some questions now about how much did they offer. Really, did they even get a chance to offer anything, is what Jackie Mack said on The Jump yesterday.
So
okay, so that was nothing. So it might not be true. That's it.
It's Jackie Mack. When she has a source, I trust her.
Okay,
She's been in the business for like 40 years.
But also, then we now have the idea that the Celtics are going to get into this Anthony Davis thing, right? And the idea is that they're going to give up Tatum, right?
Potentially.
So if they give up Tatum, that's going to beat four first round picks in my mind, because Jason Tatum is better. It's like pretty much what the whole Bears and Raiders thing is. Mm-hmm. You can have first round pick, or you can have Khalil Mack.
And here's the thing,
and with that first round pick, you can just take a guy like Khalil Mack. Like,
if Kyrie is
that's already there.
If Kyrie is leaving, will the Celtics want to offer up JT? Like, that's a big question. And also, with what I said, let's say you're then targeting a Kyrie or a Kemba in free agency, like that's your plan. Why not throw either a Shamet or a Shea into that AD trade if your plan is to get a point guard? Like, yes, if you whiff on one of those 2 point guards, that looks bad. But if your plan is to bring in Kawhi and a point guard and then get AD, that could work.
I'm saying if you needed to add a young player.
Yeah.
So if you're
what if I add in like Shea?
No, I'm saying if you're adding in Shea and 4 first, that makes it extremely interesting. But if you're giving me Danilo Gallinari and Lou Williams, then no. But it's a lot because it's Anthony Davis.
It's still a lot to give up for somebody who hasn't been able to do anything on their own.
Well, I feel like
but the idea is
talented,
you're going to pair him with another star.
But he's never been good enough to carry a team into the playoffs and do anything.
That's not true. They went to the second round last year.
Yeah, but guess how they got to the second round? Rondo and Drew Holiday.
Anthony Davis was a goddamn stud.
Nico Mirotic. Like
do you want me to read off? You want me to read off Anthony Davis' stat line?
I'm just saying.
Anthony Davis is a monster.
LeBron James is a man who can get a team to the playoffs with no talent around him.
Anthony Davis did that.
He's not.
He did that.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He
but
did
that's
that
the thing. Anthony Davis
2016, 2017 season when they were like neck and neck with the Thunder and they got in through the 8th seed. He's done that before.
I don't think he did.
He did.
I don't believe he did. I don't think he's that kind of player.
It was 2014, 2015. Literally got to the Western Conference first round against the Golden State Warriors. Got swept to 0-4, 45 and 37.
And who else was on that team?
Let's see.
Who else played on that team?
Tyreek Evans, Omira Sheik, Ryan Anderson, Alex Agencia, Drew Holiday, Eric Gordon, Jimmer Fredette, Quincy Pondector, Austin Rivers. Ooh, good old John Salmons, Jeff Withy. Come on,
Withy. Yeah.
Witty. Like he dragged that team.
Drew and Eric Gordon.
It wasn't good Eric Gordon though. Eric Gordon put up 13.4 points per game. Drew Holiday wasn't even that great either. 14.8.
He's never been an offensive dynamo.
Anthony Davis has carried his team.
But here's the thing. Anthony Davis wouldn't have to carry because he wouldn't be the only thing. Like, you'd be bringing him. The true target is Kawhi. Like, he's the true target for the Clippers. If you're bringing in Kawhi and then another max with an Anthony Davis trade, Anthony Davis would not have to be the main guy on that team. The only question for me is, what's that second free agent? Do you go with the point guard, try to get a Kyrie or Kemba, and then you can ship one of your young point guards in that Anthony Davis deal if needed? Or do you go after a Jimmy Butler? Because, yes, people are going to throw out that, DeMarcus Cousins is going to be a free agent, but if you're throwing out a max to, let's say, Kyrie and Kawhi, you're not going to have enough money to throw that to Boogie because he's going to want more than he's making right now.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with them is they're really not tied up big with cap space. I mean, really the biggest thing is Gallinari, and you're talking about getting rid of him in a trade.
Well,
he's the only one making
done
over
at the end of next year. Like, his contract's off the books.
I mean, just to say, like, if you want to free up as most space as possible, that's the really only bad contract they have.
It's not even a bad contract if he's healthy.
No, but I'm just saying, like, he's the only player. He's the only player next year that's going to be making over $8 million.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Like, and also, do you want to be paying Danilo Gallinari $22 million? No. I mean,
depends on who you are. If you're the Pelicans, who, hey, we're not looking to make a run, and it frees up cap space at the end of the year.
I'm just saying, for when you're trying to sign a free agent, I'm not saying that Danilo Gallinari is a bad player. I'm just saying
19, 6 and 2 on 44 and 42% shooting from 90 from the line.
When did I say he's a bad player?
Like, he's got a 20 per.
When did I say?
I know person's not a great stat, but like, it's I'm just saying. You said it was a bad contract. Think $20 million
compared to Lou Williams at $8 million.
Yeah, Lou
for
Williams
3
signed
years.
a bargain contract because he's a one half of the court player.
But I'm just saying, like they're like
$20 million for 20 points.
I'm not saying that he is a bad player. I'm just saying that I don't want my biggest contract on my team being Danilo Gallinari.
Say that then, because you said the word bad contract, and I got
what
defensive.
I think is when I'm paying Danilo Gallinari 22 to be my best player, that's a bad contract because I'm not going to be a good team.
Right.
All right?
After a playoff team over somebody like
and that's a deal that's been tried to be shopped for the past 3 years.
Yep.
Like that's been a deal that's been he was in the Blake Griffin trade as well. Like, that was
his injuries really cut him down, unfortunately.
I'm not trying to bash Danilo Gallinari. I'm just saying like that. I think that's a bad contract.
Yeah.
I just think that them moving into next year, it's tough to go for a youth movement in my opinion for this rebuild because you have Shea, you have Jerome Robinson, you have Shamet, and you have Zubac. I just don't know if they have the ability to build up enough youth in the next couple of years. Because typically when you start this rebuild, you have your number one pick. You have a first round pick, but they aren't really tanking for anything. So that was one thing with this when we were like, oh, they're trying to tank for a better draft pick, or they're just trying to tank to be. Yeah, there's no benefit to it.
Yeah.
So I think that was the one thing.
To me, the draft picks, don't mean to cut you off, Sean, but the draft picks aren't for them to use. It's for them to use in trades and stuff. Not like, hey, we're going to pick.
No, but I'm saying for 2019.
I want to trade these.
I'm saying for this year.
Well, so even if they would have gotten that pick, in my mind, it would have been usable in a trade rather than them making that pick. Like
what if they trade the 2021 Heat pick and something else for a slot this year if they like somebody in the first round?
That.
Like they have the ability, they have leverage, and they have capital.
But should they use that for, again, this is what the whole conversation is going towards, should they use it for a youth movement or should they use it for big free agents or big stars that are already established?
It's hard because the draft happens before free agency.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You don't know what Kawhi's going to want to do in free agency. You don't know what
Kyrie or Kemba.
Like, that's wrong. All those are unknowns. If you have the ability to go get an Anthony Davis, sure, put it on the table for him. But I don't see this team performing any better than what he was doing on the Pelicans. They have less talent on the Clippers.
But it's a different. Even with Kyrie and another Max.
No, but you don't know that. But you don't know that.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the thing that I will say.
Just asking.
Here's the thing that I will say for that Anthony Davis thing. It's a completely different market. You're in Los Angeles, which is more attractive than New Orleans. Yeah. And again, we just talked about their only bad contract being Danilo Gallinari.
Could be shipped for him.
Yeah, exactly. But even you look at the 2020 year, like let's say they miss out in 2019. They have a club option for Shea Gilgeous, which they'll pick up. They have a club option for Landry, which they'll pick up. That's like about $6 million there. Lou Williams will stay for $8 million, so that's $14 million. They could decline the Jerome Robinson deal, so that will free up. Let's just say they'll decline it because I don't think he's going to take that big of a step. So that would be put him at $14 million. That's it. They have $14 million on deck, and then they have the Anthony Davis contract that they'll end up picking up, and they have to re-sign him. But outside of that, I mean, you still have the leverage in 2020.
So you're just hoping that you can re-sign AD is your hope then.
Exactly, and if you have Anthony Davis, you have Los Angeles, and you have a fuck ton of cap.
Yep.
You're going to be in a good spot to go after. So I think that
as long as they don't nix it and sign a bunch of B tier players for a bunch of too much money.
If they just don't Pelicans,
I don't think West is going to do that.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing with the Clippers is the fact that I think you have to get one of them first before this even starts and rolls. And whether that's trading for Anthony Davis, whether that's signing a player, I think you have to get that ball rolling. I just don't know exactly what's the most intriguing part of the Clippers.
Do you think that them playing it out and just going with like, we're team basketball, we're going to run through and use our draft picks, do you think that's a route that they could take?
Like not go after a big star?
If they miss on, like, say they miss on Kawhi and Kemba and Kyrie. Say none of the big guys go there. Like, do you think that they're cool taking like smart contracts like what they did with Lou Will, like what Montrezl on an 8-8 deal? Like, do you think they could keep doing that and develop that young talent and hope that they land like a star in 2020, 2021
through the draft?
And slow roll it, or do you think that because they have the money available that they're going to try to force a star to the Clippers?
I think the fact that they're in Los Angeles means that they're going to go after a star. Okay. Because if you're in that big of a market, and yes, it's not the Lakers, so automatically you're taking down a step.
Yep.
I think that you can still draw attention to yourself. Like the Clippers have done in the past with Blake, DeAndre, and CP3.
Yeah.
And I think having a coach like Doc Rivers that just kind of pushes you towards again going towards that star movement, because you also have so much cap.
Oh, I understand,
so what's really holding you back from it? And it's really why it would really just be the players not wanting to go there.
Yeah.
So that's why the question is what's intriguing about Los Angeles in your mind? Because I think it is an option, but I think since they are Los Angeles, it's not the option that they want to do.
Well, and that's why in my mind I kind of first to answer your question. Let's say they whiff on Kawhi.
Yeah.
I don't see Jerry West going, yes.
They whiff on everything. They're not able to trade for Anthony Davis goes to Boston. Kyrie stays in Boston.
I don't see Jerry West being the guy that goes, oh my God, we need a max deal. He's going to sit back and go, no, I know what does successful, and we didn't hit. I don't need to force anything. The thing that I would worry about is if they don't hit on anyone this year, look at next year. I'm just going to throw out some of the names that are right now for sure. Kyle Lowry, Gordon Hayward, Paul Millsap, Al Horford, DeMar DeRozan, Otto Porter Jr., Andre Drummond, Anthony Davis, Hassan Whiteside. Not as many big names as we're seeing this year. So it's like, if you don't hit this year, next year's free agent pool
not as cool.
might be a little bit worse.
Unless you guys take one and one.
Yeah. If the Boston Celtics are able to get Anthony Davis and they re-sign Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward's picking up his player option.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown will be a restricted free agent. Will they be able to match that? They can throw a ton of money off at a guy like Jaylen Brown.
So much financial tax or luxury tax.
Karis LeVert, also a restricted free agent. There's a lot of restricted free agents that they might be able to go after. And I think that's one thing. If they have a ton of money and they throw money at guys that are teams that are kind of locked up cap wise and they're not able to match those guys, I think that's something they can definitely make a play after. I just think the big thing for them is, if they miss out on AD, and let's say he goes to Boston, they miss out on Kawhi, and none of the free agents go there, it's just, I think the question I'm asking is what makes them intriguing for free agents? So even if they have this money, and they're able to throw out money, and they're able to give everybody a max, what makes them an exciting team to play for? Is it Doc Rivers? Is it the city? Is it Jerry West?
I respect him as a head coach. I just don't know, is he a player's coach to that point? I think he's worked really well with younger talent. I think the older talent with him, he obviously succeeded in Boston, but going to play with the big three, or they're the equivalent of a big three with the Clippers, like we saw that cap on him. And I don't know if that was him or Chris Paul or injuries, whatever it was. He just couldn't get together. Now he's playing with a team of role players, and they're succeeding. Do you think that, do stars want to play for him at this point?
The biggest thing that he's done, and it's just giving up that GM
that's the best thing they
and
could do.
I think that the fact that he's not controlling those players and controlling the moves, I think that is something that is absolutely huge for him. He's able to focus on coaching, and he's showing that he's a fantastic coach. So I think that there's no reason why players would not want to play for him. Because
wasn't sure. I know Chris Paul had made some offhand comments when he went to the Rockets about it. He's a dick.
It's also easy to say that when you're just leaving that team.
I understand. It's one of those things where I've never been too hot or too cool on him, and I know the city of LA is really the biggest thing they have going for them. I love their young talent. I think Shea and Shamet are an amazing future backcourt because, honestly, Shea he looks so good this year for a long stretch. And I think that they're absolutely locked in on him being the guy. Shamet, hopefully he continues to shoot as well as he does, and he grows defensively just so he's league average at least. They're in great business then. They really, really need to bring in some more talent on that wing position, though. I'm with you. I think that taking some stabs at guys who could be restricted free agents could go a long way.
I got a plan for you guys. All right, and we'll go to Ricky next, but this one just kind of popped in my head. This is based off of the fact that I don't think these teams will have the hard. I think the hard cap will kind of limit what they'll be able to do. I know they'll be able to go over the luxury tax because they'll maintain most of these guys' bird rights. But a guy that's out there that plays for the Los Angeles Lakers, and if they sign Kyrie Irving, and if they're they lock up themselves too much.
Talking about BI.
Brandon Ingram is out there. He's a restricted free agent, and maybe they could just steal that away from the Lakers.
That'd be dirty.
Anthony Davis, if he goes to Boston and doesn't sign a long-term deal, will be a free agent, and you could sign him. And Jaylen Brown. And I think Anthony Davis, Jaylen Brown, and Brandon Ingram would be absolutely disgusting. With Lou Will running the point, or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
I mean, Brandon Ingram runs point, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think that there's ways for them to attack.
There's a lot of
because they have so much cap space.
Yeah.
They have so many draft picks. I think right now they're heading in the right direction, whether they win or lose, because, again, they're not helping a draft or hurting a draft stock at all because they don't have their pick. I just think that this team, it's just really what's going to be the biggest selling point for them. And Jerry West has obviously been able to do it before, selling players on teams, especially Los Angeles. So I think that they have the right pieces in place. They just need to execute.
Well, and here's the thing I'm kind of thinking, and it kind of goes back to something I think you said earlier in the segment, Sean, was how important is it for them to make the playoffs? Yeah. Like, why not make the playoffs, keep your pick? Well, if you're talking about selling a free agent in a city, let's just say Kawhi. Yes, it's LA. That's number one. But if you can say, yeah, we were the 7th seed with the ragtag of guys that we had this year. Like, we made the 7th seed even after we traded Toby and Bobby. Like, we were still in the playoffs. Think about what we could be with you. Look at what this Denver team has been doing. Like, yeah, I know they weren't added free agents, but hey, if they're able to go from 9-2, think about what we can do. And depending on what happens to the Warriors, if they lose Kevin Durant, which will probably happen in my mind, they're probably not going to lose Clay. They'll still keep that core going. But if they lose Kevin Durant, the Warriors become a little bit weaker of a team. They lose DeMarcus Cousins, which they probably will, because he'll probably be looking for a close to max deal.
The Clippers could grab Boogie.
Right there. Well, that's the thing. Could you get Kawhi and Boogie, Kawhi and Jimmy? Like, you can go different ways, but that's what you're selling them on. Hey, the Warriors are getting worse. The Rockets this year have not been as strong a team that they were the year before. You can come here on a team that's already making the playoffs and make us instantly better.
Yeah.
For the Clippers, are they heading the right way in the rebuild?
I think they are. I think we literally just spent, like 30 minutes talking about all the possibilities they have. That's in a good place. When you have multiple routes you can take, options is money. Well, that's the thing.
And that's the thing I want to ask you guys.
Damn. I knew it was coming.
Just with free agents, with the 2 maxes that they have, who would be the guys that you target and want to add? Like, if it is a A-plus offseason for the Clippers, who are getting those 2 maxes from them?
It's Kawhi plus
Kawhi
Kevin Durant. Well, you said that's an A+.
Well, hey, like Kevin Durant is an option. Like, would he sign with the
Kevin
Clippers?
Durant would be an A+ offseason. I don't think anybody can see that coming.
But that's the question. Would Kevin Durant want to sign with the Clippers?
It's not what you asked
me. If we're talking about
you just sparked a different question.
If we're talking about the legacy against him versus LeBron, KD, I mean,
could you imagine
if the Clippers won first?
Well, that's the thing. What better than go to his city, become the king of Los Angeles,
LA from LeBron?
Yeah, finally flip the Clipper-Laker thing. Yeah, and you win the first NBA championships in 2008, 2009, in the Staples Center since Kobe did it. I think that would be the biggest fuck you. I think at least A+ for them. I don't think it really matters on Kevin Durant. But they need to land a big star, and that's pretty much Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, or Kevin Durant.
Yep.
I would say Kawhi would be the one, and then I think to pair next to him, I think it would be Jimmy Butler. I think defensively that team would be fucking nasty.
Oh, Shea, Jimmy, Kawhi, 1, 2, 3. It's just God.
I think that would be the pairing that I would like the best.
Yeah.
But I don't think Jimmy Butler is pretty much going to be available. I think he's going to stay with Philadelphia. So I would probably say that their alternate route would be Kawhi being the number 1 guy. And then trading for Anthony Davis. I think that would be their A+. I don't think they really need to use those 2 max. I think filling out the roster would probably be the smartest thing. I think that's what they can do. And also having 2 stars like Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard be disgusting. So I think that would be the A+ for them, is signing Kawhi or Kevin Durant and trading for Anthony Davis, which I think is possible, but I don't know if they'll have the best package for Anthony Davis. But getting those 4 picks is helping.
Yeah, I'm exactly there with you, Sean. I think you nailed it spot on. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I'm looking up one thing, and the thing I'm looking up is to see. I couldn't remember if Jerry West and Kevin Durant overlapped when he joined the Golden State. Maybe. That's the only other thing I'm thinking. If they did overlap, could Jerry West be a guy to, hey, you want to stay in this like tech, because I know the big thing we bring up is like, oh, he wants to stay on the West Coast where all the tech stuff is happening.
All the New York people are bringing up the fact that Kevin Durant apparently moved all his businesses to New York, but they have a crazy high business tax or something like that. So why else would he be doing that if he's not going to New York?
It's going to be so crazy. Free
he
agency,
could just be a bad business guy.
Free agency can't get here quick enough in my mind.
Yeah, we've never heard of basketball players going broke after they finish it, right? Never happened.
Final thoughts is we all think that they're going the right way just because the options they have. All right.
Regardless of which option route they take, they got options.
Camera Dad, thank you so much for listening to this segment. Let us know your thoughts on the Clippers rebuild. Are they going in the right way? Are they attacking this in the right way? What are your thoughts on the Clippers rebuild in 2018 heading into 2019 and 2020? It is 2019. My bad. Anyways.